Clock on the wall striking 7 p.m. Call the LLD Strategic Planning Committee meeting of July 25th, 2018 to order. Roll call, please.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Here.
Jay Fisher.
Here.
Richard Flint.
Here.
Thomas Hummel.
Here.
Liz Sullivan.
Here.
Emily Swistag.
Here.
Lauren McWang.
Here.
Tatiana Weinstein.
Here.
Beth McQuillan.
Here.
Elizabeth Hopkins.
Here.
Will Savage.
Here. All members being present, we'll move along to item 2 on the agenda, which is opportunity for visitors to speak. The committee is governed by the same rules as our general meeting. Any member of the public who wishes can address the board for up to 5 minutes. Do either of the members of the public, sir, can please come up to the microphone.
President Fisher, thank you for the opportunity to address the committee today. The meeting recordings on YouTube have been a really wonderful resource for people like me who are interested but unable to attend each meeting. I was particularly struck by Trustee Sullivan's repeated request at the last meeting that since we have resource limitations, we shouldn't be comparing our facilities to those of libraries that serve 50,000 people or to university libraries, and should primarily compare ourselves to libraries that serve around 28,000 people. I have an example of how precisely that sort of library faced many of the same challenges that Lisle has. The library I have in mind is a district library too, and serves about the same size population that Lisle does. Per capita income of the core municipality in that district is about the same, but median house values are about 10% lower. According to everylibrary.com, their annual tax revenue and salary expenses are about the same too. On paper, their library is about the same size as ours, but also like ours, their library has been expanded and modified over the years, creating the same sort of compromised, inefficient physical space that we have here, making it hard to directly compare the two. They have the same sort of split level entry that we have here, forcing a patron to go either up or down for most library services. Due to the many expansions over the years, they have multiple independent HVAC systems. On the plus side, though, they do have bathrooms in the children's area, complete with preschool-sized toilets, which is a pretty neat idea. That library has identified many of the same sorts of issues with their own facility that you have with ours. From their website, I'm going to quote, our building is severely undersized for our district population and needs significant and costly renovations to bring it up to current building code. Our library has high operational costs due to the age and layout of the building. Mechanicals, heating, air conditioning, elevators, etc. are beyond their recommended lifespan and are beginning to fail. The age and condition of our current building forces us to make some tough decisions. Our problems will not go away while costs for remaining in the current facility escalate every day. That's the end of the quote. This other library, again, serving around the same population, same size population, has also identified many of the same community needs that you have via your community forums and this committee's discussions. Better, more flexible meeting space, maker spaces for media, craft, and STEAM needs, better pickup, drop-off access, and the need for more collection space. As I mentioned, many of the same challenges expressed in almost the same words as in today's packet or last year's community engagement report. It's clear that many on the board take the challenge of this situation seriously. For example, during the last board meeting, citing a sense of urgency, Trustee Bartelli requested that the directors of adult and youth services be included in upcoming physical plant meetings because of how useful and valuable their information and perspectives were. But I was surprised to hear how others in this group responded to the same challenges. For example, HVAC systems that routinely break down for a whole day at a time. Well, that's just commercial air conditioning. Maybe we need to install new ducts. Or malfunctioning elevator from a defunct company and new parts are no longer available. Well, maybe we can find the right parts on eBay. Or not enough equipment or space for patron needs. Well, there's other space in downtown. There are businesses that need customers. Maybe they can go there instead. The other library that I mentioned has gone in a different direction when confronted with the same challenges that you face. They concluded that, given the needs of the community and the deficits of their current building, that neither patrons nor taxpayers would be best served by, quote, further investment into the infrastructure of their current building, specifically calling that out as, quote, not a wise use of tax dollars. After reaching these conclusions, their board worked hard to explain the reality of the situation to the community and were able to win the community's support for a new library via a referendum. You can go onto the Geneva Public Library District's website for their new building to see all the details. But unfortunately, I think the limitations that Trustee Sullivan refers to aren't necessarily financial. I think some on the board are unconvinced of the significance of the problems that have been identified by staff and the needs that have been communicated by patrons. As a result, there seems to be little desire to do the sort of hard, unrewarding work necessary to win the support of the broader community for the sorts of investments that are necessary for the future of this library. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that this board is willing to advocate for the resources needed to bring this library firmly into the 21st century. This may not be a completely new building like Geneva opted for, but I think the deficits of this building as currently configured are profound and will need serious investment, more than a look at paint or new ducts or a shopping spree on eBay to rectify. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else wish to address the board? All right, seeing none, we'll move along to item 3, which is the approval of the minutes of the June 20th, 2018 Strategic Planning Committee meeting. They are included in your packet. Is there a motion?
A motion to approve the minutes of June
20th.
20th.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Richard Flynn.
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye.
Liz Sullivan.
Aye.
Emily Swistak.
Aye.
Margaret Wang.
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Aye.
Tatiana Weinstein. No.
Not voting.
She doesn't get to vote.
Is that where I stopped then?
Oh, no.
No.
Are we missing? Beth and I are ex officio, so we're not voting.
But Elizabeth.
Elizabeth and...
Elizabeth Hopkins.
Aye.
Well,
Will Smith.
You look so different.
all right, motion passes. The minutes of the June 20th meeting are approved. Item 4, the main business of this meeting is the discussion of the draft affiliate objectives and approach. Turn it over to Tatiana.
Okay, I'm going to do a little recap first. So at the last Strategic Planning Committee meeting on June 20th, we reviewed our focus areas, they being organizational culture, advocacy, outreach and awareness, technology, and facility. We also confirmed the support language that will drive the entire plan. Words such as like lifelong learning, efficiencies, diversity, being fiscally responsible, among others. We also looked at the results of our very informal ranking of areas around the facility, such as the lobby, exterior space, group study space, places like that. We ranked each area as either important or unsure or not important. And then I presented a PowerPoint presentation that highlighted the facility areas on that ranking list. And that list was born of 6 years of discussions about the facility. So whether it came from the Facility Steering Committee from 2012, that lasted through 2016. We had the space study involved there. We had that conducted by Engberg Anderson in 2016. And then we had our community engagement project in 2017. And then we also had staff and trustee conversations since then. So that's where that list came from. The PowerPoint presentation featured some solutions regarding those identified areas. It also highlighted principles of universal design. It features photos from the library, some problem areas in the library, and also offered some innovative ideas from other libraries and ideas that address some of the issues that we brought up. And then after the PowerPoint presentation, a committee member suggested some problem statements under each area to better categorize the issues. So those were provided to you last week and also provided to you in this packet. So that's here. I just wanted to know if there were any questions about any of those before we move forward.
You mean out of the 4 pages? Mm-hmm. The 4-page document? I have a couple of questions. The first paragraph where it says, second line, that the building that warrant attention, I think we should be consistent with the minutes, and I think the minutes state that they may need attention/improvements. So could we replace warrant attention with may need attention/improvements?
These aren't the minutes. These are just my...
I understand, but there's a difference between saying that these specific things warrant attention, and between that and saying that they may need attention/improvements, which we just approved the minutes, and in the minutes we said they may need attention. attention/improvements. So I would like this document to reflect what we agreed, the minutes that we agreed were in the minutes.
That's not necessary. Tatiana is correct on this point. This is just an administrative summary at the request of a board member or two. It's not an official document of the board, which the minutes are. As long as Trustee Sullivan has indicated her issue with the word verbiage, I think that's sufficient, don't you?
Yeah, it's the minutes of the official document. This is just a working
That's what I just
document.
said.
Yes.
So it's okay
Agreed.
to say that these areas in the building warrant attention rather than may need attention. I mean, I'm not okay with that because what that does is it assumes everything that follows, that there's been some sort of agreement that each area definitely warrants attention. And I don't think that's what we decided or said, and I don't think that's what the minutes reflected.
Well, I think it's been in the culmination of meetings that these specific items warranted attention because we spent time on each item.
I guess what I'm saying is, if that's the case, are you really opposed to saying they may need attention improvements? Because the problem is, I don't think that each of these items definitely needs to be or warrants attention.
But, I'm sorry, I'll wait.
Our survey that Tatiana passed around indicated that as well. It's like, you know, some of these items had more members that thought it was important, and some had items, there was ones that less members thought it was important, and more members thought it wasn't important. And so I think that, you know, this is just a working document that we're using. I don't think the fact that it states that members identified areas indicate that it means that all members thought that all areas needed attention. Just that these were the areas that were laid out that the committee was addressing, so that warrant attention in that aspect.
And actually, just on that informal survey, each one of these garnered more committee members than not. So
Define warrant attention for me then, please. I guess that's what I'm, you know, to me, if you say it warrants attention, you're saying that you're gonna fix all of these problems,
and
Dave.
how that is done is up to the board.
So it's not a commitment that we have agreed to fix every one of these, even though it says warrant attention.
It's a
That's
commitment
what I
to
was-
address these areas.
See, and I think if you, it's not that we're committed to addressing each area. I think, and what we discussed was that it may need attention/improvements. And to me, I don't want people to be disappointed by seeing this and saying, okay, they're gonna address every single area. I'm not sure that we agreed to address every single area.
The attention being given to it could be something as simple as having a deep discussion about it. That is giving attention to it. So warranting attention just means that it is discussed and brought forward at some point. It doesn't mean that it's going to be fixed, but it means that we realize that some of us think this is an issue, so we should all talk about this, and some people in the community think it's an issue, so we should talk about this.
And the majority of the committee thought that each one of these things that have been listed warranted attention,
So
warranted ideas.
as Will said, warrant discussion.
Right.
You know, that the majority of each committee members thought that these individual items warranted a discussion amongst the committee and then amongst the board as to whether and how it should be addressed. I don't think it necessarily means that we're going to fix them all, because I think the committee understands that there are limitations budgetary-wise, but what it means is we're going to discuss all of these things and figure out, prioritize and figure out how we want to address them in what order, and if there's some we want to push off.
I think the key word to me is attention and not action. I think that's the gist of it. Doesn't mean we're going to take action and fix it, in other words. attention. We're going to
I
look
showed
at it.
this to two constituents today, just the way it's written. And they thought it meant that we're gonna take action and that these are the problems that okay, so I'm just telling you feedback. Would you be opposed, Jay, to using your language and say that that warrant discussion?
This is my document that I
Right.
provided as a summary.
Yeah.
This is not the board's document.
It's not a final
Yeah.
product. So the final product will have probably different language.
Actually, we'll get there.
Yeah.
We're on our
The
way.
minutes from this meeting will refer to the discussion we're having right now.
Yes.
So it'll be resolved.
So I think, Liz, I think we've agreed that, as Marjorie so succinctly said, attention is different than action, that this is not an official document that the board needs to approve, it's just a working document, and going forward, I think the committee understands that what these things are is warrant discussion.
And my last statement will be, as long as we're comfortable writing so that our committees and our board understand it, because obviously taxpayers don't. Because I showed it to two of them and they thought we were gonna do every single thing. And this is something we published, so as long as we're okay with that.
I mean, I think we asked the director for problem statements, and this is what we received.
There'll be more detailed discussion in the future via committees and obviously full board down the road.
All right, any other discussion on the problem statement document?
Okay, so moving on to tonight's business. President Fisher and I met and discussed our overall process for strategic planning, and we thought it best to re-review the goal for a strategic plan document, kind of talk about that end product. So when we began this process, the aim for the committee was to identify elements in our organization that deserve more focused attention. We identified 4, and that the committee would then focus on these 4 focus areas for the next 3 to 5 years. So the next step would be to establish an approach to achieving the overall objective for each focus area. So to remind us of what an objective, an approach, or a goal, and a method to get there document looks like, I did include 2 examples from our previous packet. We had examples of other strategic plans, and these 2 examples illustrate what other organization objective approach documents look like. One is from Skokie, the other from Newburgh Public Library, and they both lay out a general objective or goal, and then they lay out a strategy of achieving that objective. And I've also drafted an LLD facility objective document. Again, I need your input here. It follows that same format. If you look at it, you see a general objective, and that being provide a welcoming facility and campus that meets community needs, encourages utilization, and fosters an enriching environment. We can change that if we like tonight. It's just a general objective, a statement. And then it shows the approach to achieve that objective, and there are 4 points under approach. I took all the features we identified as areas that warrant attention, and then I crafted action statements that support solving that problem. What I need from the committee tonight is a consensus opinion regarding the concepts laid out in this, we want to call it a bucket. And just one more thing, before we walk through the draft together, I want to talk about this particular bucket because it is unique in that it's about the facility. It's a big one. And we've been talking about this for 6 years through discussion and different studies and reports. So I just want to remind everybody, this is about concepts that we agree are valuable to us as an organization. It's not about the details, though it will be very easy to go there mentally, the details, but because we've discussed a lot of details up to this point. But today, I just want us to think about things conceptually, and then exactly how we get there will be like what Tom mentioned. We will have further discussion about the hows, the exactitudes about everything. So shall we read through this as a group?
Just real quick, Tatiana, what are the 4 areas again? I'm sorry, the facility.
It's the facility, organizational culture, advocacy, outreach and awareness, and technology.
Yep.
And if you have in your packet, there's a little,
And here's the,
there's a graph
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's somewhere in here. There was also like a
Did you mail
little
this
graph
out,
I
or
gave
this
that's
is
like
what-
yellow.
these four.
Yeah.
Definitely using like the
Boxes.
one with the strategic plan, whatever it was,
It's previous document.
Yeah.
Okay. From last
Oh,
meeting.
some, May 2nd had some,
Oh, I've got
graph like
that.
this, and that lists out all the words. But- So on this graph,
I'm sorry, what were the four? Facility, organizational, culture, technology.
There's this
and
one.
advocacy,
Oh, yeah,
outreach,
thank
awareness.
you. Yeah. I should have probably
That's
got
why I
copies.
carry everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's helpful, thank you.
Okay, so I read the objective. For the approach, I mentioned that the Strategic Planning Committee appreciates and recognizes the concept of universal design as understood and employed by various business educational institutions worldwide. The LLD shall utilize UD concepts in its projected facility projects. Number one. Number two, I broke this down between interior and exterior. Address interior and exterior areas as identified by the SPC, and then I listed them. So the action statements in regards to everything that was on our list that warranted attention. Number one in the interior is provide adequate restroom facilities on all floors, including a family bathroom option. Number two.
So just for me to clarify, so instead of the word address, I should have in my mind discuss. Because I don't think that, we determined that we're going to include a family bathroom option. I think it was a discussion. So where you have number two, address, to me it's like we're going to address every item underneath. And again, I don't think that we ever got a consensus on that we're going to address all these. So are you saying we should discuss?
I think we're talking about that today. Do we agree that providing adequate restroom facilities on all floors, including a family bathroom option, is a concept we agree with as a committee?
I agree as a concept with providing adequate restroom facilities on all floors. To me, including a family bathroom option is like the next step of how you define what adequate restroom facilities are.
Okay, I appreciate your comment. Does anyone else have anything to say about that?
I mean, it's the same thing, I mean, this will be discussed, I'm sure, I know it will be discussed in physical plan, and obviously the full board will decide, but, I mean, yeah, because there's a bigger picture, like how we're gonna design this as far as even if we, like, the concept of this building, like, where everything is gonna go.
But I think the family bathroom concept was something, that's my impression.
Yeah, it's gonna happen probably, although it's gotta be discussed and decided.
Well, how it's
Yeah,
done, what it looks
correct,
like,
yeah.
how large, how small, that's to be discussed.
Correct. And where.
But I think the concept of a family bathroom and having a separate space where someone could nurse, or someone could change, or someone could go in with a wheelchair comfortably, my impression was that this committee felt like that was something they agreed with.
I think you're right, as well as gender-neutral bathroom. That was discussed too.
At this point, I think, since this was just a draft Tatiana was giving us as an example, I think we should let her go through the whole thing, and then we can come back and discuss individual points. This was just to give us an idea of what, if we wanted this to be what our strategic planning document looked like, this is what she threw together for us. So I would rather let her show us what she had in mind, and then we go back and individually look at everything.
Again, these are action statements that refer to concepts that I thought came of our last meeting, okay? So interior was providing adequate restrooms facilities on all floors. Whatever that means, we see that as a valuable concept, including a family bathroom option. Number two, equip the facility with suitable group and individual study space. Number three, create a hospitable foyer experience for first-time and regular users. Number four, indicate space for media, maker, and STEAM activities. dedicate space for media maker and STEAM activities. 5, reconfigure and update HVAC components in the building. 6, reconfigure and update IT infrastructure. 7, develop circulation processes that eliminate redundancies and enhance the user experience. 8, provide adequate shelving space to feature new and innovative formats while maintaining appropriate space for traditional formats. 9, provide safe vehicular drop-off lane for patrons near the entrance. 10, equip Youth Services Department with adequate programming space and clear sightlines. 11, furnish electrical access to users in effective and appropriate locations. 12, increase RFID components within the facility. 13, provide adequate reading, study, meeting, collection, programming space for high school aged patrons. And lastly, offer patrons a food or drink option. And then when you move into exterior, or move out to exterior, we've got 3 there. Effectively accentuate the entrance to the facility and highlight facility presence in the community. And 2 is monitor and maintain stormwater drainage system on property. And then 3 is offer patrons a selection of safe, welcoming, and inspirational outside areas to read, meet, and or unwind. So those are the interior and exterior areas that were mentioned throughout our meetings. Then approach 3 is when appropriate, commission professional assistant to achieve this SPC facility objective. And then number 4 states the physical plant committee will review expert advice and recommend steps to achieve the SPC facility objective.
So what kind of feedback are you looking for? I mean, should we tell you if we agree with all these? I mean, I'm not understanding I don't want to nitpick, so I don't want to go down a rat hole that you're not looking for that level of detail.
The concepts that are expressed on this document, I'd like a consensus opinion that we agree with these concepts.
You mean concepts like the, sorry,
Go ahead.
like a format, how we're going to address these 4 issues, or like for example, I think number 2 here, all these interior and exterior. So you pretty much summarized the past discussion we had, even though you listed out, but we're not today talking about prioritization and so forth, because that will be addressed by the recommendation from the physical plant committee. Is that what how the process is going to go?
Well, again, talking about strategic planning, this is one bucket, and I think we all need to be on the same page about the direction and the concepts that are expressed in this bucket. Do we all agree with what's been talked about here?
Yeah, because it looks like you're just recap what we've already discussed last meeting, right? So, and we're not talking about prioritization here. It's just to say, so as we address 4 different areas, we use the same approach on how you're laying it out with the facility area.
It'll be the same for when we go over organizational culture. We'll talk about what our objective is there, and then we'll lay out the approach. So, for example, if we're going to talk about just the formatting, when we talk about organizational culture, let's say one of our approaches is we want as an organization to have a diversity policy because we don't have one now. So we would write an approach that states that, but then the hows, the details would probably go to Personnel Policy Committee.
So the implementation piece will be a different, would be, but then when we're looking at the facility, these are really nice to have, but I think it's a lot.
Yeah, that was my feeling longer, was that item 2 was a little too specific, that maybe we can come up with a more general
approach.
statement.
Yeah.
Instead of laying out all 17 of these items in the strategic plan. I don't know.
Well, it's up to you. I mean, I wanted to include everything because I think, again, they're all nice. And again, how we address each one of them is up to the board and up to physical plant. So, providing a safe equipment, there's a number of things. Furnish electrical access to users in effective and appropriate locations. Where that is, how we do that, the detail. I think that is something that has been brought up many times, and we experience as staff here, having it in the plan. I mean, if you want to hone this down to include everything, that's fine.
I think a more general summary is probably better than.
Can you give an example of what you would combine?
I mean, I guess I'll look at the exterior one first, because I mean, you could even just say, you know, like even, well, I mean, it depends. I mean, I don't know if we need, like, they're saying those, without looking at, going through this whole, right, and just looking at it right now is, I think what they're saying is you got 17 bullet points in this number 2. I don't know if it needs to be that specific. I think we know what some of the items are going to be. I mean, per discussion, I mean, we can always kind of go back to this draft if we had to. I mean, so I don't know if we need it in the strategic plan itself, the specifics. It's just a general.
Well, some strategic, I mean, if you looked at the examples, some got specific and had lists. Well, I mean, we have 4 points. One of our points has 17 items. But in the other strategic plans, there's 10 points that have 2 items each. So, I mean, again, going back to this is a unique bucket for us because we've had so many years of discussion.
No, I understand. I guess maybe even like the exterior, you can almost just keep it to just number 1. And then maybe, I don't know. I mean,
Here's the other thing, I'm concerned with using the use prioritize because all of these were shown as items that warranted attention, back to Liz's point, in terms of there's no like, this is the number 1 thing. Mm-hmm. All of these things do warrant discussion, attention, and should be addressed, in my opinion, in some manner.
And I agree, and I guess, and I know we're not prioritizing this either, so that's, I guess my point is that part of the discussion would come down the road, like in a physical plant meeting, which then would come to the full board as well, down the road to implement the strategic plan. So I guess what I'm saying, and I think others are saying, the words in your mouth is, I don't know if it needs to be this specific now. Is it even, I mean, how general, how vague? I mean, is it just number 2 in this interior, exterior, just the general 2-sentence summary, or is it consolidating these 14, or consolidating these 3? I don't know. I guess that could be a
Do you
discussion.
remember one of the examples we saw had like 1 page that just had like, really, it was really broad and general, and then if you delve deeper into it, you saw more detailed things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm almost wondering if we're thinking like, we want to have like some kind of general
Like
overview
exactly
thing
summary page or something.
for it, and then, because
Yeah.
I feel like if these are the things that the majority of the community members had said were important, we need to document that somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Like it could be a back page or something.
Something that we know that these were the things that we thought, you know, needed some type of
Or an appendix.
attention. You know what I mean? Like, as opposed to just
Yeah.
making it super general and not having any idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, we want to communicate to the community what our strategic plan
Right.
involves. But maybe as far as formatting it, you want to make these an appendix, that's fine, but I need some language.
Right.
Right, we spent several meetings discussing all this. I think there has to be something that itemizes or summarizes isn't even a good word, I don't think, because we were pretty specific on what we thought was, using Liz's words, problem statements. So,
I'm about to cut you off, Ryan.
well, when we reviewed the strategic plans, the one thing that seemed to be in agreement, you didn't like the 1-page strategic plan. So I think we've drawn this out, or Tatiana has in her draft here, and I think to sort of summarize our past 2 meetings.
And I totally agree with that, and I guess what I would see happening is, to Emily's point, have the list appear later, but have an overarching statement, and then let the committee in charge of facilities work on these things and bring their recommendations.
I mean, I don't know if this would a chart work? Like a chart maybe instead, like in the back of the report maybe. I know, I think one of the strategic plans, didn't they have like
I think so.
A chart or, I mean,
Well,
I don't know.
I would agree with like more of an appendix, but I need some language for interior and exterior, or
Right.
interior/exterior or something. But I would like to include these things because, again, back to Beth's point is that we've had a couple of meetings, we've really devoted a lot of time to these things.
If we're gonna include these, then we never decided for sure that this item or this item or this item was universal agreement. I mean, part of it was a presentation, either by you or Beth made some presentations.
We also took a survey, an informal one.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is, like for instance, I believe we need space for media, maker, and STEAM activities. And I believe we should provide space. I don't have enough information to say definitely we should dedicate space.
Or how?
Well, right, so I guess what I'm saying is, you know.
Again, concept, you agree with the concept.
Yeah, but I don't agree that I know enough to say we're gonna dedicate space.
That's why number 3 says, when appropriate, commission professional assistance to achieve the goal of providing a welcoming facility that meets our needs, encourages utilization, and fosters an enriching environment.
Then that should be exactly what you said, should be our overarching.
It is.
It's right here.
Right, but I don't think we need to decide whether we're gonna dedicate space for these things or provide space. I mean, to me, there's a huge difference between dedicating space and providing space. And when I voted on that sheet that you've referenced, it didn't like make a distinction. It says, you know, is it important, a media lab? Yeah, it's important. Is it gonna be dedicated? I don't know yet. I mean, and that level of detail wasn't asked when we prioritized it.
Well, but I don't think that this is saying we've made the decision. I think this is more of a
If you don't
reminder of
well,
what we discussed.
It's about agreeing with space for media maker and STEAM. If you don't like the word dedicate, if the rest of the committee doesn't like the word dedicate, let's change the word. But I would like to hear from everybody else.
Well, I think keeping the list is good, and I think we all agree we probably, on top of that, we probably have to have a little bit more general statement on this before we dive down deep. For example, some general statement I'm just thinking is sort of up for discussion, like we need to update our aging physical infrastructure. That's something we will really have to do, right? So underneath, of course, you have something you can fit in, like the HVAC, aging HVAC, and some other things that you have to do, including exterior stuff that we can kind of list underneath. And the second thing, like improve our user experience or circulation, or then you have a lot of things around there. The third piece, maybe improve or expand our, space, so that then underneath it, you could be some dedicated, for STEM activity, or do we need to expand study spaces and so forth. There are certain things, we can kind of tease out of it and make a general statement underneath, so like 4 or 5 things. Then as we, physical committee going through it, is we have 4 or 5 things under each of the headlines that we could start to think about prioritizing and budgeting for it. So that's just kind of my perspective.
I like that perspective one. I mean, we have 3 statements under exterior, we might be able, since there's 3, we can leave that, but what, the idea of boiling down the interior into 3 statements, what were your, you've been thrown some.
She said updated.
Yeah, update aging physical infrastructure. So
And
then they got stuff for interior and exterior we can bucket underneath.
And I like improve user experience.
Improve user experience. Underneath there, they have the foyer, the circulation expansion or something like that, and RFID, and also this parking space and dropping off and stuff like underneath it. Then the third one I was thinking about, improve or expand the space, right, and study space, or underneath that you can have the expanding the spaces we have already got, or having dedicated space for STEM and other things. Right, all these kind of boil down to, also as we discuss this, our underlying kind of guiding principle here is about your top objective, right? And then as we make any kind of improvements, we need to think about this universal design concept as we're adding in infrastructure and so forth. So I think it's kind of fits.
It's probably good because it actually keeps it actually a little open in case things arise, like the elevator, for example, that, that needs to get repaired or replaced possibly in the not too distant future. So, and I don't know if I see it on here, just looking at it quick, but I don't think it's on there. So, I mean, it's good to keep it, another reason to keep it vague as other issues arise.
What do other members of the committee think about using something like Longre's 3 general statements on the...
If we have an appendix.
If we add the whole thing as an appendix or a chart or something at the end, so more specific.
I think, oh, sorry, Beth.
No, go ahead.
No, I think having these specific things is important. Yeah, if we make it more general, then we are open to other things, like Tom said, but then there's a reason why you rewrite these every 3 to 5 years is because they're not supposed to be so general that you can just reuse them constantly. We need to have this stuff in here that this is what we see ourselves addressing in the next 3 to 5 years. So I agree that if we want to pop this in an appendix to make this page cleaner or whatever we decide, I think having all these things is somewhere is important.
I would agree with that note as long as the detailed list is present somewhere in the plan, because let's not forget this isn't just for us, it's for our community as well. And if it's too gray, that's not helpful to them. If they haven't been sitting in on our meetings, they have no idea what we're talking about, they might need some specifics.
And this is not an exhaustive list.
Right.
I mean, it's time to paint, carpeting. Tom mentioned the elevator. We could probably come up with 5 more things that are not on the list.
That was my thought too. I don't think this list is too detailed, and I think it's somewhat premature to start categorizing these into more general areas, precisely because you can lose track that way of the reason that the category is there. What would the category contain? Well, if you're focusing on the category label, you might lose focus on what's inside the category. So I think this is, I think it's premature, frankly, to start talking about whether it goes in the appendix or not, or whether we talk about general categories. So I think we should continue focusing, as you just said, on the things that we need to actually do.
And repairs are different than many of the topics that
That's
we've
right.
discussed here.
That's right.
Richard, would you agree with if we did condense down interior and exterior with some statements that more reflect the 1, 3, and 4 statements, but then immediately after include like this very list, as long as it's included?
Whether the list is before or the list is after, I don't think matters. We can write it either way.
As long as these things are documented.
I think it's good for us to be keeping in the back of our mind how we're going to categorize these. But to think about making a commitment to that categorization, I think it's premature. But to the rest of what you said, yes.
I think strategic plans do, to Longer's point, start out at a higher level and then have either bullets or additional details later. So I agree with the approach of having a higher level.
Well, that's how they're written. That's not how they're generated.
And again, I have to keep going back to my point is that this is a very unique bucket. It's very different than, say, our advocacy and outreach bucket, I think, because there's been so many years of discussion, so much detail in terms of reports and studies that have been provided since 2012. That's why it's a little bit more focused on what to do. It's just the how to do will be focused on later.
I think one of the reasons why I was thinking about having more general categories before the list is it gives a creative perception that we're going to do all of these, and
well, we're going to pay attention to all of these, now, depending on what it is. And if there's a problem or an issue with paying some attention to one of these things, I think we need to talk about that now.
I would like to say on some of these that use an action verb, like that, a specific one, like on number 4, dedicate space, I'd like to just change that to provide space.
Okay,
So
that's
that
that's I think what we need to talk about here. But what do others think?
When you dedicate something, you set it aside so that it's not for any other use. And I do think that's what we're talking about.
I mean, I guess it depends, because there's some stuff that's, flexible to use, like you could, especially with smaller, so, I mean, it could be one of those where you're just providing space, but it's also could be space that's multi-purpose, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, are we sitting here able to definitively say that we can dedicate space for media maker and we can equip facility with suitable group and individual study space? There are some things maybe when you come down the road that the board is gonna have to make a decision.
But is that a concept that we agree with? Do we want to equip the facility with suitable group and individual study space? Is that what we
Yes.
want? Okay. And we have to figure out a way to do that down the line.
which is what the facility committee will do, right? The other thing is, I'm kind of concerned about increased RFID components within the facility, because I don't think that we've made, I mean, I know that we don't have full RFID, and I don't know that a goal is to increase the RFID components within the facility. I think, if there's some problem statement that says, and this is something I guess for your committee, I would say, something like evaluate increasing RFID components within the facility. Because to me, making a statement, we're going to increase them, what if there's no cost benefit analysis? I mean, to Longree's point, we're kind of sticking these out and saying, okay, we're going to increase this, but we don't know if we'll increase it.
Well, this is the place to have that discussion.
But we can't have that discussion until we get a recommendation from the facility committee. In my opinion, they do the deep dive, we don't.
We could if you wanted.
Well, number 3 says that we're going to ask for a professional assistance. So these are some of the concepts that we're going to ask for to say, if we could design a library services, these are the components that we want to discuss. And RFID would be what we would want to
Evaluate.
use.
I'm not convinced after I've read up on RFID that that's gonna, I don't understand what it's gonna solve. So to commit to increasing, if we can even say the word potentially increase, or, go ahead.
Well, if you look at the problem statements, like on page 4 for RFID, read those. Is that an issue? Okay, that's the problem statements we develop for RFID. I don't believe that says we're going to have a completely implemented RFID, but we're trying to address the self-check and, the kiosk.
And inventory control.
Right. So, I think we're way ahead of, if we're talking about a full-blown RFID, I don't think that's anyone's intention, but the problem statements, we asked for those.
Right, and self-check machines are in awkward areas, so that's one problem
Okay.
statement. And I'm sorry, what are the other problem statements?
Well, I'm just talking, I was specifically talking about RFID, one thing at a time.
Oh, that's what I mean.
So there's two issues here.
My question on RFID specifically is what are the problems we are trying to solve? And I saw we want to solve that self-check machines are in awkward areas. But I'm not understanding, the rest is background. It doesn't say these are the problems we're trying to solve.
Well, and then when we had our walkthrough in the PowerPoint presentation, we discussed inventory management, shelf management, the book drop having RFID capabilities, efficiencies in regards to check-in, check-out, circulation, those things we talked about.
I remember hearing them, but if those are the problems we're trying to solve, increase, self-check machines, improve the location because they're in awkward areas, improve efficiency in the area of inventory management, improve efficiency in the area of checkout. To me, do I know at this time that increasing RFID will do all those things in a cost benefit, analytical way? No, I can't commit to increasing. And my concern is that we have discussed this as a group, and I haven't gone point by point and said this is what I agree or disagree with. And now I'm seeing that by saying we're going to increase it, it's time for me to say I don't agree with being presumptuous.
Just the one word with evaluate.
Could I?
Right,
should we
evaluate.
suggest optimize use of RFID.
I like that.
What, we'll just evaluate, would they just solve everybody's problem?
Optimize is probably better.
Optimize means looking for the best and most efficient way of use, right?
Okay, let's do both words, evaluate and optimize, or something like that, and then both people's.
What do others think?
I think optimize is sufficient. I agree with Richard.
I agree. I think optimize covers both bases. Because in order to optimize it, you have to evaluate it.
Exactly.
It kind of just assumes that we've done that.
Yeah, optimize.
So-
Change the increase to optimize.
And I think Tom was right by saying evaluate, but I think optimize implies it.
I know I'm being picky on words, but optimizing means it's going to be a technology we use going forward.
We already use it.
I understand that. I've been in situations where we've actually taken technology out because it maybe didn't serve the purpose as well as we thought it would. So I think we should evaluate it, but again, I'm gonna go with the flow. I'm gonna say optimize, but
We can hit number 3 right now, talking professional assistants. There are 4 librarians sitting here who will tell you, as of right now, RFID is the best way to go. Maybe something 3-4 years down the line shows up, but going to other libraries and using their equipment and learning about their equipment and how it's done, RFID is by far the best way to do it.
and I understand, but before the board spends money,
Yes.
I would expect to see, these are the pros, these are the cons, this is what we have
I
today.
think we
this is
will,
what-
Liz,
will.
and that's what the
That's
committee's
It's
for.
not about the money, this is about the
Yeah.
concepts.
No, yeah, because I think, yes, we will optimize and evaluate, and if it was $1 million, which it's not gonna be, but if it was $1 million, you'd probably say, we're not gonna do that, so something like that, or who knows, in 3 years, for all you know, there might be some new technology
Yeah.
out there.
Exactly.
So, the optimized word is fine, and then, so, it'll be kicked around, because it's a big ticket item. It won't just be a done deal, I'm sure, and then and then going back, I guess, so for the number 4, the dedicated space was just gonna be switched, again, just for verbiage to keep it simple, was it just provide?
Is that what everyone's comfortable with?
I like dedicate. To dedicate means you set it aside so that it can't be used for something else.
But it's not mutually exclusive. Provide could be in the future, could be a dedicated. But dedicated can be provide. So I think we can have provided, I think it's,
Yeah, 'cause
those are,
it'd be a multi-purpose.
Yeah, I don't think we want to go down that road about emphasizing multi-purpose. Of course, that's always an option, everyone knows that, but, that leads us down the road where everything is interchangeable. And we've never had a set aside media space before, we've never had to set aside maker space, STEAM activities. I think it's time to plant our flag and say, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna make the space available for that. Let's do it.
I'm more comfortable with provide, I don't know what other
I like
people-
provide.
As long as if we can come to,
I don't think nobody's arguing against doing that, I think it's just, again, for the flexibility of the multi-purpose, I mean, you know, you may not need that space every hour, or whatever the case may be, so I think provided, I mean, it might wind up being dedicated space, I guess, just for this, at this point in the game, I think provided it's just a.
In the spirit of cooperation, I think we should agree that media maker and STEAM activities are important, and
Sure.
a concept we all agree should
I
happen.
think that's correct, yes.
If the majority think provide is the best word for this,
Yep.
no one else is going to say
Because like what
anything
we said, it
else.
could be dedicated, but, so.
Any other commentary on that?
On that item or other
On
items?
that item? Okay.
I'm still not convinced we need to offer patrons a food and drink option, but.
Well, that's, that was what I had a discussion on, because I don't, but that, I mean, do we, again, we don't want to get specifics, but we're just, because I mean, if you're talking a cafe, that's going to be a flat out no for me, but if you're just talking vending machines, that I could.
Well, we're not making that decision here
Correct.
tonight. We're talking about the concept of offering
Well-
patrons a food or drink option, whether it's a vending machine
Well,
or a cafe or
And
whatever.
this might be the one case it might need to be a little bit more specific, because if it's a cafe, that's not like a non.
But we're not making those specific decisions
I
tonight.
understand.
This is concepts,
Yeah.
because we as staff and as a board, through community engagement, have heard people want a coffee. They just want a
Not
coffee.
the community engagement.
That was pretty low.
They said it was
Yeah, the
irrelevant.
community
Yeah.
survey shot that
Yeah.
down. That was one of the few things they said.
It's one of the few things that they
Yeah.
said was
Yeah.
off the
Really
table.
Not interested in.
But enough people in the groups brought it up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, maybe it didn't rank on the survey, but in the forums, it was brought up. So.
That's a fair statement.
And we hear it every day. But, I mean, this is the committee's decision, if you want to have that as an option.
Now, here's a place where provide would make sense.
Or explore or
Provide
something.
provide a food drink option. So
How about-
if it doesn't
how
work
about-
in one space, we could move it to
Explore
another space.
providing.
I like explore
Now,
providing.
now we're getting way,
No,
come
no.
on, guys.
Or explore offering. I mean, I think that was a great word, explore.
But we're exploring all of these things. I
Yeah.
mean, truly, we are.
I think
Because-
that's the difficulty that the committee is having in regards to, if we leave this language the way it is, does that mean we're gonna be doing these
Yeah,
things?
that's the problem.
Versus, oh, we're just going to explore these things.
Well, we're exploring these things. So if we distill it down, what I've gleaned from all of our meetings and from community engagement, the forums, and from our daily activities here as staff, is that people want a cup of coffee when they come here or a bottle of water. That's just been expressed. If this committee does not believe in that concept, that we should be offering some kind of option there, then we strike it. But I need to hear from the committee. I mean, this is something that's been expressed.
I think we absolutely need it. And again, I'll just speak, and Will, you can agree with me or not, but from what we hear on the desk, it's not just, it is like I want a cup of coffee when I go to book club, but it's also I have a blood sugar issue. Can I hit a vending machine somewhere? And we have to direct them to McDonald's, which is not very close. So it's an issue. I think it's important that it's here. And the level of it, again, could be a
How
vending
we do
machine.
that is a different option.
Yeah, that's a different story, but I think it's important that it's included.
So would you agree with the wording explore
No,
offering?
because I think we're exploring everything on here, as Tatiana
Okay,
said.
then why don't we do this? Why don't we change the verb in number 2 to say explore interior and exterior areas as identified, and then make all the rest nouns without a verb? Because then we're not getting into the provide, the dedicate, the explore, and we're also writing in parallel structure.
That's what address means, is that we'll look like we said, LLD physical plant looks at all this stuff. So we decided as a committee that these are things that should be addressed, whether or not we look at them and decide, no, we don't need to do something specific, whether or not we do need to do something specific. The address, I think, in number 2 provides that explore verb for all of these underneath
then I would take out the verbs. I mean, I'm agreeing with you totally, but then I would take out the verbs and I would make them bullet pointed nouns. Number 1 could be adequate restroom facilities on all floor. Number 2 could be a facility with suitable group and individual study space. And if we did that on through, then we're not changing every single statement. We're saying we're going to address or explore the following. Because where it gets hinky is where we make a commitment that we're going to increase, that we're going to provide this for sure. Because we don't know at the end of the day what is going to come out of the committees. I mean, the facility committee.
That would work on some lists, but on other ones, I'm not sure that it would work, like 5, 6, and 7.
I
Where it says
agree.
reconfigure and update IT infrastructure or develop circulation processes that eliminate redundancy. I don't think those would read well if you got rid of the verb.
Again,
True.
we're here to discuss what we believe as a committee is important. Do we believe these things are important? If you don't believe that providing a food or drink option is important, let's strike it, but I want to hear from everybody. And how that is not what we're talking about, whether it's a vending machine or a cafe. Do you not think it's important?
I could go no higher than the vending machine.
Well, that's fine, but do you think it's important to provide that
But I would
information?
almost want specific language.
Well, look, Richard, let me ask you, in the policy manual, we do not permit food.
We do. We do.
I just read it. I could be dead wrong. No, I believe there's no food
It says
allowed.
covered drinks.
It says
It's
covered
only
drinks.
drinks.
And we
So
provide a
we'd have to
space.
change, I'm just,
No, it's in the policy manual that we have a space provided for food and drink in
no,
the foyer.
I don't believe so.
But just what you're talking about, just in the floor.
Right
not-
there.
In the
Right
foyer.
there.
Oh,
I'd like to
yeah.
hear the rest
Foyer.
of Marjorie's question.
Yeah.
You started out by saying the policy manual, and then 8 people jumped on it.
I know.
You never
I'm
did
used to
get
that, I
the
come from a big family, Richard.
Even if the policy, I thought you were going to say the policy manual disallows this.
I was going to say that.
And if that were to be your question, I would say we would change it, or we could change it.
Okay, and that would be my point, so we'd have to do that, and then, I'm okay with the drink, not the food. But
I'm okay
it's,
with the drink and the food, and I think we could
Okay.
liberalize it. Doesn't have to just be a vending machine. Although if it were, that would be a step in the right
That's true.
direction, because we don't have one yet.
Others?
We've had a real busy week this week with college students that must have been taking summer courses. And they've been here in the study rooms, like 3 and 4 people together studying and working, ready to take tests. And same thing, they've been asking about food, they've been asking about drink, can we go bring it in? And they're not here just for an hour, they've been here for 3, 4, 5 hours.
So it sounds like the policy does have to be rewritten, because I think it's policy 610.
Emily's got it right there.
Okay, and it says you can have food out there, but it doesn't say you can bring food into a room.
right, so that would have to be changed.
That would have
It
to
just
be.
says food may not be consumed in the library with the exception of designated areas, library events or meetings where prior permission has been obtained. Beverages must be in closed containers.
Yeah, don't the book and film clubs have cookies all the
They
time?
do.
Okay, so
They've
that settles
been
that.
deemed appropriate space.
So that settles that.
So it doesn't just say out there, it just says designated areas.
You know, and again, my issue is not necessarily I'm theoretically opposed to food and drink option. It just seems to me that should be low on the priority
I
list.
agree.
But
Which
these
goes
are-
an interaction between 2, 3, and 4, I think, is some of this discussion is 2 is an ideal world, but I don't, are we gonna be able to address all 17 points in the next 3 to 5 years under the budgetary realities that we live under?
I
And the
think we
facility
can.
realities we live under?
I think that's our duty, is to make sure it fits within our budgetary limits. But these are the concepts that I felt came out of all of these discussions. But if I'm wrong, I need to hear that.
No,
No,
I think, sorry, go ahead, Richard.
I think that Tatiana is exactly right about this. We have to choose, this is the point of strategic planning, it's not just checking things off a maintenance repair list. We have to choose what kind of library we want to be in the next 5 years, or evolve through the next 5 years. And, you know, to use the example, if we feel, based on feedback from our community, that suitable group and individual study space is critical to who we want to be, then we have to choose to find a way to do that.
Well, I mean, it sounds like a broken record for me. That's where I really feel that having some sort of a major theme beyond just diving into the deep. For example, we said we need to update our physical infrastructure, but there's so many 4 or 5 different items in there. I mean, let's talk about prioritization discussion, right? And you know, the space is very important. We said we have to address them. So underneath there were several options how we're going to address them, and that's where you kind of start to have the budgetary consideration, whether it's 1-year projects, 2 or 3. Because otherwise, you know, with prioritizing 17 of them at this point, we said we're not prioritizing, but we are right now. How we discuss everything else right here. I don't know how we're going to address this because I don't think it's an efficient, you know, way of moving this forward right now.
Do you have any? These 17 items you're saying is not an efficient way to move the strategic planning process forward, or yeah, please?
No, I said, you know, the 17 items are good because that's come out of the discussion we had. Those are great ideas. I think, well, once we start to have each of the line item discussion, we start to mentally, everybody start to prioritize to say what is most important we should address today, which is that Tatiana, what she was saying in the beginning is it's not about prioritization list, but with that 17 items, people naturally go to, hey, what is most important? And that's why I was trying to at least some general statement, 3 areas we said as areas of focus in this facility area, we need to do those three things. But underneath, then we'll say, well, it's up to another round of discussion with physical plant or to make recommendations and getting appropriate budgetary considerations that fit our timeline. And then that be closing of this loop, and then we go to another area. So I definitely think we need to keep this list. It's a great list. It's something that come out of staff and everybody agreed is important. But just, I don't know. I'm just thinking if we are still in this discussion around should we have 17 lists here or should we having kind of a 3 or 4 areas? I'm not trying to buy into my kind of my proposal, just have a little bit higher area to say, hey, do we agree? Yes, we need to update our physical infrastructure today. If everybody does that's important, then we say, hey, these 4 or 5 items is underneath that. Let's kind of take that as agreed to, and then let's go to the next area. Do we think then improve this better use of a space is something we need to address? Yes, that is important. So you have this dedicated space, you have some other areas that we can put underneath in there, right? And then we'll kind of set that one aside. And then the third bucket is kind of improve the circulation or user experience. Underneath, then you have RFID, you have, you know, changing in circulation processes and so forth. Then we'll have it underneath there as well and say, hey, these are something important that we don't want to lose as this idea. And then we have the physical plant committee to review each of the 3 or 4 areas and making prioritization as we go forward on an operating kind of plan basis and annual basis.
So then would it be your idea to keep all 17 of these statements in this document, but then group them under larger statements?
That's what my kind of recommendation, unless people think maybe those are the 3 areas. Maybe some people are saying, well, the most important is the infrastructure update versus user experience. I don't know, but I just think we'll keep this list, but bucket them, and if everybody agrees this is a concept okay with, then we can move forward to another area.
I mean, I like your more general statements about improving the user experience and things like that within this objective approach concept. Having that there, and then having the 17 underneath or as an appendix, but I think we're there in regards to your, do we like that idea? I think we all like that idea. I think where we're running into a kind of roadblock is an agreement that these 17 are important. I just need to know that I will redraft this in that format for our next meeting, but I just want to know that these 17 are important.
I don't know what the rest of the committee feels, but I feel these 17 are important, but they're not all the same level of importance. So yes, I have no problem with the importance of these 17. This is something staff and this committee have talked about and hashed out, and these are ideally, yes. These 17 things are important.
And should be addressed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that was the limit of what we set ourselves for today. We didn't set out to write a list where all 17 items are must-do immediate items. We just wanted to know that, we set a floor, not a ceiling. These are 17 things we should do. Maybe some of them are more urgent than others, but I thought we were just going to go through this list and talk about what we mean by these items, prioritize them later.
Yeah, I mean, and again, this is not about prioritizing them, really. I mean, every one of us has an idea of what means more to us personally, but these are the concepts and ideas we've heard that ranked on our list and we thought were important. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, I'm glad Tatiana said that we're not here to represent our own interests. We're here to represent the community and the staff and sort of library knowledge about what a building should be. So I'm okay if we wanted to regroup these into sort of space, utilities, user experience,
Statements.
exterior or something, and then put them underneath there. I can't go with any prioritization, because to me, there's multiple steps before you would get to that point.
Exactly.
Okay.
I just have a question. For 2A9, provide safe vehicular drop-off lane for patrons near entrance. So would that be really an exterior thing, not an interior thing?
Oh, you're right.
I just was rereading it when Longry was talking about the things, and I was looking for like, okay, what would go under space? And then I was like, wait a minute.
That would be user experience. but
Right, it's user experience, but that's the thing.
exterior
So
user
are we, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
then it's gonna go over into both
Yeah.
if it's
It's
user
going to be
experience
an
versus
indoor
interior
drop-off.
versus exterior, right?
And
We're gonna have a little thing that goes inside the building.
And that's always going to happen. There's going to be input.
Right.
That's okay.
So that's why I guess I'm kind of wondering, do we want to separate them out by interior versus exterior if we're talking about general things like user experience or space and things like that?
I don't think we need to. I think if we have those general areas, you can fit all
You might not want
17 of
to
them.
delineate them into
Yes.
interior, exterior.
Okay, good idea. That was just an easy way for me to.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense, but now that we're talking about doing a different format.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
You know what, you bring up that point about provide safe vehicular drop-off lane for patrons near entrance. I'm not sure that I agree that we even need that, or that it, it didn't come up as something high, and I don't think there's a case made that how they do it today is unsafe.
I can tell you as a parent, dropping off kids, it's an issue. Or picking up kids, it's an issue. Because then, so say for example, I need to drop off my kid because he's volunteering. And so I pull up to the front, but then there's another car that's sitting there waiting to pick up someone else, and then someone else is trying to pull around, and it's just, and then with the parking spaces there for the limited mobility, or like the 3-minute parking, it's just pretty chaotic when there's a lot of people there doing the same thing.
and part of that is conversation about the entrance. A lot of things fall under that category, and how that is accomplished, whether that's doing something different with the parking lot, or doing something like restriping, or lighting, or signage, is for the physical plan committee to discuss.
Okay, then I don't think it should say provide safe vehicular drop-off lane, because by saying you're gonna provide a separate lane, you just yourself said it might be solved through something else. This is saying that the solution is a separate lane.
So replace the word lane with something else.
It doesn't say separately, it just says lane.
Right.
Yeah, but if you read what the.
Well, you need a vehicle and a lane.
Right, but the point
Or do you mean
is-
like process?
Well, no, the point is, if you read the following pages, it says you can, that it's not good to use the fire lane. So, but just now you said the solution might be other things besides.
I don't know what it is. Liz. I
Right, so
really
how
don't.
do we word it?
So take the word lane out.
How about experience?
Yeah.
Got it.
Experience?
Area or
Area,
experience?
whatever.
Area.
Process.
Okay.
Yeah, area or process.
Process.
Provide for safe vehicular drop-off for patrons near entrance.
Perfect.
It is-
Get rid of the
That's good. Get rid of
now.
that lane, I like
Put a
that.
4,
Yep.
The 4 is,
F-O-R, not F-O-R.
It's there.
Provide for.
oh, another 4.
Okay. Any other language changes? All right, so I will pull together something else using Lunry's formatting, hopefully, and then we'll come up,
Formatting,
it'll be a
everybody.
new draft with an appendix. And I can do that for our next meeting, but do we also want to focus on another bucket for our next meeting? The 3 that are left are organizational culture, advocacy, outreach and awareness, or technology. So way back when we talked about these things, and we had this list, if you can see, everybody's got a copy of this, I can resend it. We generate a lot of words under each of these areas that we determine as important. So under organizational culture, we talked about training and cross-training, policies, codes of conduct, values and teamwork, professional staff, grant writing, and process optimization. And then under advocacy, we talked about being proactive and promotional efforts, intergovernmental relationships, engagement, communication. And then under outreach and awareness, we talked about marketing and communications, having two-way communication, signage, social media, surveys, word of mouth. And then under technology, we talked about automation, hardware and software, electronic and digital, our IT infrastructure plan, RFID, access, and then the cloud and having updated technology. So out of the 3, which one do we want to tackle next? And I can come up with another draft and we can talk about that. What do we like?
Technology is closest to what we're doing now, if you want continuity.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And there's probably a lot of overlap between organizational culture and advocacy because, things that would, a lot of them have interdependency anyway. And yeah, I think technology would be
The next thing to tackle?
one.
Everybody okay with that?
And then we even can group organizational culture and advocacy as one meeting if we,
Maybe so.
that'd be make it more efficient.
Okay. So I appreciate everybody's comments because drafting this draft was very difficult from all of the information we've had. So if we like this kind of a format, this will help me in future drafts. Beth's got some dates for our meetings, and I know that committee members are interested in kind of parsing them out throughout the next 3 months. I think we've got about 3 months worth of dates, and I would like, I'm being ambitious, but maybe we can tackle the whole plan by October.
So the first date we have is August 15th. That's a Wednesday.
Do we have another meeting planned, don't we?
I have that one on my calendar
Yeah,
already.
we have that planned.
Well, we said we blocked it, but we
Oh.
didn't really
I thought-
approve it here at.
Okay.
Because the board
That's good
meeting's
for
the
me.
8th.
The board meeting's the 8th.
Yes.
So we'll go,
August 15th.
August
is good for
15th is
everybody?
good.
It's not good for me.
I missed the June one because that wasn't good for me, so.
But everybody but Liz?
That's fine.
Okay.
Well, August the 15th.
do you want me to do the other August dates? Or do you want to stick with that, August 15th?
How many other days do you have?
the other August dates?
We have to skip then to Monday, the 20th?
That works.
That doesn't work for me.
What was the date? Sorry.
Monday, the 20th?
What about Wednesday, the 22nd?
Nope, it's not, the room is already booked.
How about an hour before the August board meeting? Say 5:30 on August 8th.
I can't
It's
do
not
that.
enough time.
That's packing a
I've
lot
got
in,
programming, so.
and August meeting's good.
The next one was the 21st, which is the Tuesday. I could do that.
Anyone else have issues with the 21st?
Yeah, it's, so the 15th is not working, are we gonna still keep the 15th?
Well, we're
We can
looking,
keep
for-
the
we're
15th.
looking to see if there is a date that everyone could make in August, because Liz couldn't make the 15th. If there isn't,
Can everyone make the 21st?
21st?
I don't know yet. I know I can definitely do the 15th. I don't know about the 21st yet.
Yeah,
Just because I've had it on my calendar since the last time,
Yeah.
and other things kind of fill up.
The 21st, I will move something to make this meeting, so.
Well,
Write it
it's not
down.
ideal, but I can move something around on the 21st. It's not-
Do you have an idea of when you might be able to know, Emily?
I should know by probably next week.
So it sounds like the 15th is good for the majority, so I'll put that one down.
Wait a
And then
minute, the 15th is
I'm-
good for everybody but me.
I wasn't
The
finished.
21st
I
is good
wasn't
for
funny.
everybody but her.
June 20th was good for
I
good for
wasn't-
everybody but me.
I wasn't finished with my statement.
Beth?
Order.
Beth, please.
I was saying that the August 15th was good except for one trustee, and the 21st had several people that had to check dates. So I was going to say that those two dates were open, and we'll have to have email, phone calls from the trustees to set the date.
I think that's a good plan.
September.
So let
Well, hold on one second, please.
staff know about the 21st.
So we're
We
going to,
block the 15th, but if the 21st works for everyone, we can do that. September dates, Beth?
Okay, we had the 4th, which is a Tuesday. That would be the day after Labor Day, I believe. The 5th is a Wednesday. Then we jump to the 18th.
I
And
can
that's-
move something to make the 4th.
The 18th is a Tuesday as well?
Correct.
Remember, we're going to be doing B&A in those days. And
the board
although I
meeting's
don't
the
think I
12th.
have a conflict, I'd prefer to get through the B&A before we get back to this.
And really, those are the only 3 days that are available
I-
in September.
I think we need to have a September date, though. for
Oh, yeah,
this.
we
Yeah,
want
yeah.
August, September, October.
Absolutely.
All three of those
Yeah.
are fine by me.
Me too.
Not the
Fourth.
5th.
Not the
Okay,
fifth,
not
okay.
the 5th.
The 4th and the 18th.
Which do we like? We want both? What do we want?
Liz, the 4th or the 18th?
I have something each night I will gladly move,
Okay,
either or, so.
Let's pick one.
let's pick
It's
one.
Tuesday. They're both Tuesdays.
Can we pick
The
one?
earlier the better. People have a problem with the
Laundry, do
4th.
you have a preference?
That'll be the day I come back from overseas trip, but
Oh,
yeah, that's
okay.
fine. No, that's okay.
let's do the
I can
18th
keep.
then.
Then it would be
No,
no, that's okay.
Laundry,
Oh,
you're
no,
gonna be
no.
jet lagged.
Yes.
Yeah,
18th.
let's do the 18th. 18th.
Okay.
Okay. October, there was some more choices. We start with Tuesday, the 2nd, Wednesday, the 3rd, October 4th is a Thursday, and then it would jump to October 15th, the 17th, the 29th.
Those dates again.
And the
We
board-
have 2, 3, 4, and then 15, 17, 29.
29 is a Monday?
Correct.
Can't do that.
Okay.
I agree. Mondays are bad for me too.
The 17th is
that's
a
out.
Wednesday, right?
Yeah,
17th is a Wednesday,
Wednesdays work.
and the 3rd is a Wednesday.
The board meeting's the 10th.
The 10th.
Yeah.
We can do 17, like we're doing.
Can do the 17th.
That's not good.
17th?
It's Wednesday?
17th.
Can't do, that one I can't move.
Okay. The 3rd?
That one, wait, that's October 3rd, right?
Yes.
That one I can't move either. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, that is October 3rd. Can't move that one.
Well, there's gonna be an occurrence where someone cannot make it. And it's
How
already
about the
happened.
15th,
Issues
Liz?
with the second or the fourth then?
October 15th.
I can do it, but they can't do Mondays.
Oh, sorry.
Thursday, the 4th?
I can't do that.
Wide open.
Tuesday the second?
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Rather not, it's my birthday, but if I get to be here.
I was here on my birthday and my anniversary.
That's why you're president, Jake.
That's right. I am ready to carry the burden of it.
Will the second work?
Yeah, I can move what I've got.
Emily, if we bring you a cake?
I may or may not
We'll
be
bake you a
here.
cake.
It's scheduled, but I may or may not be here. That's the decision.
Okay, so to recap, we're looking at August 15th and August 21st, and we'll hear from trustees on that one. We have September 18th and Tuesday, the 2nd of October.
Tatiana, you think by that October 2nd one is where?
I mean, again, I'm being ambitious, but I wouldn't want to have anyone missing the last meeting, but we might have a second meeting in October.
Sure.
Is there like a second date in October that is as an opening?
About the 17th, did we eliminate?
Liz
I
can do
can't
the
move
17th.
that one.
Do you think we could do it on the day of the board meeting on the 10th, like before or afterwards?
I mean, it depends how these meetings go, but we should pencil in a date.
Definitely.
Will has programming
What date?
on Wednesdays.
Every Wednesday, either Pokemon Club or Storytime.
What about the 9th? Is the room not available?
The room's not available.
So,
And are we out the
Yes.
week of the week of October 14th? None of those days work? Oh, Wednesday doesn't work. Well, Wednesdays never work, okay.
Wednesdays beforehand, like if we try to schedule it before a board meeting, then oftentimes, I mean, even if we want to get in at 5:30, Pokemon runs until 5:30. And then otherwise I have story time at 6.
On every Wednesday, right?
They alternate, but one of those two every Wednesday.
Plus, we need time to set up the room for the recording.
Right.
And you're in here, right?
And we're in this room, particularly for Pokemon.
So what about the week of October 21st? Did we discount that one already?
It jumps from the 17th to the 29th.
We already said 29 doesn't work.
Correct.
And this is room availability?
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
What if we buckled down and did it on a Saturday?
I would do it.
So are you a maybe on the second, Emily, or what is yours? Because if it's, I agree with Tatiana, certainly on the last day, we need all
Yeah.
committee members present.
I mean, I just need to make sure, because of my kids' after-school, activities too, I have to make sure that my husband or someone else can take them to places, so. That's why it's hard when it's different days, like when it's
Yeah.
Wednesdays, I have those set, but when it's other
Mhm.
days of the week, it gets more challenging.
Did you do any
Understood.
early November dates?
I did not, but Krista's got the iPad here if you want. We could just,
I won't be here on a Saturday.
Well, each of us decides what level of commitment we're willing to.
Saturdays are very challenging for me too with my kids and their activities,
Darn.
we could do Thursday, November 1st.
Good with me.
We could do Monday, oh, Mondays are not good.
Well, which Monday are you?
Monday, the 5th.
No.
Is
Is
this the
October
pre-approval?
2nd go unless it's the last meeting, so if it's not the last meeting, October 2nd is happening.
Yeah.
Right, it's just only where that becomes a meeting.
We'll see how it goes with our August and September meetings, but I'd like the last meeting to have everybody in attendance. So what did you say about November
Is there
1st?
an issue with November 1st?
It's not great, but, you know, I can move things around.
Did you say no?
No,
It's
there's no
okay.
issues yet, November 1st is fine.
That's a pencil in then.
Well, this says Thursday Kids Club at 4, but that would be,
It'd be from 4 to 4:45.
Okay.
And that's.
So are we
that's different
setting
staff, so.
the 1st of November
November
versus
1st.
October
Yeah.
2nd?
If that's good with everybody, maybe
Is
that's
that
the
good
date.
with, then we have everybody, okay. so-
October 2nd is still a good date.
Not for Emily.
Not for now.
Also, we need to take
But-
off.
But we're having the meeting, as long as it's not the last meeting.
Well, if it's going,
Or she's
whatever
here,
it's
she
gonna
can
be our
make it
last
work.
meeting, I want everybody there.
Correct.
So whether
So-
it's October
so-
2nd or November 1st.
Correct.
We'll
So-
pencil, we'll block both
We'll
dates.
block those out.
So either if it's the last meeting, Emily's here, it's happening, or if it's not the last meeting, we're having it.
So schedule it for October 2nd
Yeah.
and November
November
1st.
There we go.
Thank you.
So we have 4 dates.
Right. But we'll find out about August 15th to 21st, is that correct?
Send me an email.
And then September 18th,
Yes.
October 2nd, November 1st.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Tatiana. Any other business to come before the committee? Thank you all for your input and discussion. Tatiana appreciates it.
Yeah.
Nothing else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.